Servers at restaurants? What's the strangest thing someone's asked for? Story 1. Once a very thin, middle-aged woman came in. She couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds soaking wet. She asked what our biggest steak was. I told her it was 24-ounce ribeye. She said, "Okay, I'll have that." Our steaks came with 2 sides, so I asked which ones she'd like. She said, "I don't want sides." I told her they were included in the price, and she still refused them. I bring out her steak and she begins eating. She's about a third of the way through when I ask, "How is everything?" She says, "Great, bring me another steak." I say, "Is there anything wrong with that one?" She says, "No, it's great. I want a second one." I went back to the chef and told him, and he couldn't believe it. But we served her another steak. She ate all 48 ounces of steak and left me a $40 tip. Story 2. Honestly, I'd say the weirdest thing was that while I was a server at a restaurant in the Royal Hawaiian, a guest asked me to book a shark adventure tour. It had nothing to do with my job or even the hotel. Those tours were entirely separate businesses. I took his black card, went to guest services, picked up a pamphlet, and booked the tour. He tipped me $250. Totally worth it. Story 3. I had this couple come in with their own tea set. The man asked me if I had a few minutes to learn a few things. They were the second table sat, so I humored him. He showed me a very specific way of steeping and pouring the tea over a sugar cube and had me try it a couple times with water. The whole thing was sort of neat. He then asked if I would mind serving them their tea this very particular way. They were super kind, even though the man had sort of an intense vibe to him. I filled the pot with hot water, carried it out like he showed me, and poured their cups of tea exactly how he showed me. He seemed extra pleased, but never said a word or even looked at me. It was no problem, and I felt super fancy doing it. I did refill their tea one time while they were there, and he also asked that I keep his wife's water glass full at all times. I knew it was going to be a good table when the first time I came by and refilled her water glass and inquired if they needed any more tea. The man handed me $20 and sort of dismissed me. He did it twice more that afternoon. At the end, they paid with no tip, I thought, but $60 and a cool lesson was enough for me. My manager found me about an hour later and handed me an envelope and said they told him they only will come in when I am working from now on. The envelope had $100, a business card, and a handwritten thank you note. Apparently, they had put this request up for many fine dining places, and I was the only to get it right and do it graciously. It was very odd because after the first lesson, they treated me as if I was almost invisible, backed up by the fact they didn't tip me in person. On every return trip, it was the same. If you didn't know the deal, they would seem like cold assholes, but they tipped really well and I treated them like VIPs every time. Story 4. Years ago, I worked at this amazing Breton French creperie in San Francisco. Phenomenal food with a pretty small menu. Guy comes in and orders a sweet crepe with vanilla ice cream. No biggie. Then he wants to add a sunny side up egg and parsley to this crepe. I ask him a number of times if he's sure he knows what he's getting and that it's not 2 separate crepes, one sweet and one savory. He assures me. Of course, when I ring it in, the kitchen thinks I made a mistake, to which I assure them it's not a mistake. I bring out said vanilla ice cream with sunny side up egg crepe, and the client devours it. Weird. Story 5 worked at Bob Evans 20 years ago, and there were a few. Parsley woman, she would order a glass of milk and a large soup bowl full of parsley and eat it. No salad dressing or anything, just straight parsley. Apple pie woman, she would order a piece of apple pie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on it, but the pie was almost never hot enough. We finally figured out how to make her happy. Instead of microwaving the piece of pie for 1.5 minutes, you'd microwave it for 7 minutes. Fan lady, not food related, but the lady would come in every Sunday morning, our busiest time of the week, and demand that the speed of the fans for the whole restaurant be slowed down. She claimed she had a medical condition and got away with it for 2 months. This stopped when one of the managers determined they also had a medical condition, but it required the fans to be left on at normal speed. This made the fan lady very mad and never came back. Deep fried bacon guy, no complaint really. Turns out deep fried bacon is delicious. Story 6. Kind of the inverse, but a lady ordered a charcuterie board and when it arrived with disgust, she asked me to take it away because it had meat on it. I carefully explained that the ingredients were listed in the menu and that the meat was somewhat implied by the name of the dish. She remained unfazed and I returned the board to the kitchen. That was fun. Story 7. I worked in the kitchen at KFC, but from time to time we would all throw on the headsets for drive-thru just to listen in. One night we get a guy put in a typical order, but then he starts in on, "Can I get extra hot sauce? I like it hot and spicy. Do you like it hot and spicy? I really like it hot and I gotta have it spicy." And so on. He pulled up to the window with his wife in the passenger seat and his kids in the back, who looked mortified. Story 8. I can't really say I recall anything especially weird being asked for, but what always amazed me was how people just assumed that a restaurant could just whip something up for them, especially when it comes to dessert. I had a coworker who had a customer who perused the dessert menu, shut it, and asked for a slice of apple pie, never mind baking an entire pie for someone. Mind you, there was no apple pie on the menu, and most dessert items at a restaurant are not made to order. People would also always put reservation notes asking us to bring a cupcake for a birthday. Again, not something we had on the menu, nor something we are going to make special, even if we didn't have 210 covers coming in that night. Of course, people were more than welcome to bring in a cake or dessert, but no one wants to pay the plating fee. Story 9, I used to work at a family restaurant, and we had this regular we called the iced tea guy. He would come in and order a meal with iced tea, and the iced tea was always refillable. Long story short, everyone knew after his meal was done, he would camp, stay for a long time, and continue to ask for refills of the iced tea. Iced tea guy would then ask permission to get up and go to the restroom, and if you said no, he would give you $5 each time. In retrospect, I think it was some sort kink dom shit. It started getting weird LOL. Eventually, he wasn't allowed back because of a certain situation. Iced tea guy was in my station one day for a couple hours and he had a new request for me. Iced tea guy wanted me to choose a piece of pie for him to eat with his hands, but he wanted to do it with shoes on his hands. He asked me to help him buckle the straps on a pair of Mary Janes he busted out of a backpack and put on each hand. So then he ate a piece of Dutch apple pie, a la mode, with the shoes that were buckled on his hands. Anyways, he wasn't allowed back after that day, and I never saw him again. There's my story of the strangest things someone has ever asked me for when I was a server. Story 10. Someone once ordered a veggie quesadilla from me, and after I brought it out and checked on them to make sure everything came out alright, the person said, "Excuse me, I have a dairy allergy and I can't eat this. Why would you sell me something with cheese on it?" She did not inform me she had a dairy allergy and ended up ordering a veggie quesadilla with no cheese, so just sauteed peppers and onion on a large dry tortilla. Story 11. I'm not a server, but one time I was in line at a Subway. The guy in front of me ordered a cold cut combo, which I think is just a bologna sandwich, starting normal. But he follows up with, "and add meatballs to that." The girl making it paused for a second, but pushed through. But then she did what her job demanded. She asked what kind of cheese he wanted. The man looked her right in the eyes, didn't hesitate and said cottage. The sandwich artist looked at him and just said no. To this day, I have no idea if she said no because they didn't have cottage cheese or because she was too disgusted to make it. But that one word no sent me into a fit of laughter, and I had to leave the line. Story 12. Academy Award nominated, Hollywood Walk of Fame star, father of Jamie Lee Curtis, actor Tony Curtis, the single most miserable asshole I ever had the honor of waiting on. He was staying at the resort the restaurant I worked at was in, so I had the privilege of attending to him several times over the week. He was insufferably smug and condescending, several times saying, "This isn't what I ordered," even though his order had been read back to him and confirmed. How many times can you order in a restaurant and get something you don't think you ordered before you start to ask if maybe it's you? The most ridiculous thing was that he ordered a hamburger and wanted it cooked rare. So the chef cooked him his burger, and when I brought it out to him, he said, "It's too overdone, redo it." So I told the chef and he made a more rare burger. Curtis sent that one back too. Now the chef is pissed, so he made a patty of raw hamburger and waves a torch over it so it's barely brown and ice cold in the middle. Fucker loved it. Said it was the best burger he ever had. Still complained about how long it took to get his meal. I still remember the chef saying, "If that's what he wanted, he should have ordered a tartare à la retour." Is it too much to ask that people learn the name of the weird thing they like to eat? I have to look up that name every time I tell this story. Tony Curtis is long dead now, and frankly, I'm not missing him much. Story 13, I've posted this before, but I used to work at a chain restaurant in college. Let's call it Crapplebee's. Woman comes in and asks for a glass of the mango stuff. I clarify whether she wants a mango tea or mango lemonade, and she says, not just the mango stuff. For reference, the mango stuff is syrup. Literally sugar syrup with fake mango flavor and food coloring. I explain that the mango stuff is not juice. It is syrup. She insists she wants just the mango stuff. I bring her a glass of straight-up mango syrup. She drinks the whole thing and takes one to go. Not to mention we had to charge her like $12 a glass because she drank a bottle and a half of mango syrup that would have made like 50 mango lemonade. She was cool with that. Story 14. I worked in an Italian place at the height of the Adkins diet craze. We had someone order a personal pizza to go, no crust, along with some other stuff for their family. My kitchen manager thought quickly, took a piece of foil, built the pizza on top of it, sans crust, and ran it through the oven. We boxed it up and sent it out with the rest of the order. I never heard back from them, and to this day, I'm still not sure if it was a genuine request or someone's idea of a joke. Either way, I don't really care. Story 15. There was a lady who appeared to be a little older but looked like she took care of herself and had some plastic surgery done to her face. She asked me for a Coke Zero with extra Splenda on the side. I brought out a few packets, but she asked me for a bowl of the sweetener. I then watched her tear open packet after packet to add to her diet soda. After she left, I counted how many she used, 16, for a 16-ounce soda. I replicated the drink to try with my coworkers on shift just to see what she was thinking. I was trying to slurp a solid through my straw. I then decided maybe it wasn't Botox, but lots of preservatives that made her appear more youthful. Story 16. Oh wow, something I actually have an answer for. Worked at an all-you-can-eat sushi place and you were allowed one bowl of ice cream. Anything more and it would just be an all-you-can-eat ice cream place. Woman asked for chocolate ice cream with a heaping side of wasabi. She ate it all mixed together. She admitted to it being super weird, but said it tasted great. Still, the weirdest order I've taken to date. Granted, I don't work in food service anymore. Story 17. Shot of Fireball plus hot sauce in a double shot glass. I thought it would be way too much. A half ounce of hot sauce just shot back, so the guy ordered it many times and eventually I asked him about it. He told me to try it, which I refused. Not a fan of spicy stuff. He repeatedly told me that it wasn't spicy. Of course I didn't believe him, the thing was like 1/3 hot sauce. He was clearly trying to prank someone who didn't like spicy stuff. Anyhow, after a year of us going back and forth about it, I finally lamented when he told me he would tip me $20 to take the shot. So I did. Crazy how it's not hot at all. Like it's less spicy than normal Fireball. Story 18. Former Subway sandwich artist here. A guy wanted a foot-long turkey sandwich and for me to put tomatoes on it, but to cut each tomato slice into quarters and for the round edges to face the hinge of the bread and the right angle points to face the outside of the bread. The white American triangle cheese pieces needed to be split in half, and those smaller triangles needed to be put between certain slices of turkey to supposedly fill in the triangle gaps of the quartered tomatoes in the sandwich when it closed. I apparently didn't figure it out perfectly by his standards because he started screaming at me and knocked over some stuff. I honestly couldn't care less whatever issue he had, F that guy. I remember being surprised at that moment that I'm actually involved in an interaction this ridiculous. Story 19. I worked at a country club in high school, and with your meal you received a salad. I asked what dressing she'd like and proceeded to name 15 dressings we had. She told me they all sound delicious. She will have them all on the salad. I initially thought she meant ramekins of each of the dressings, but she said no, she wanted them all on the physical salad. I proceeded to bring a salad with 15 dollops of dressing on it, ranging from vinaigrettes, honey mustard, Chinese peanut dressing, raspberry dressing, ranch, blue cheese, and others. I watched her from the server station, then mix the salad with all the dressings, and each bite of the salad then use the bread to clean the leftover dressing on the plate. By far the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. There's no way that combination would taste good. Story 20. We have a family of regulars who come in and immediately hand their server a printed out list of their order, with everything coursed out, including drink refills. The first time I had them, they seemed almost rude and found any questions I had regarding their order as intrusions, but they always tip well. By now, I know the drill and handle the whole interaction almost without saying a word. I guess they just want their evening to be as distraction-free as possible. There was also a time years ago where a guy asked for 2 orders of chips and queso, brought a spoon, and forgot the chips. He then proceeded to eat the queso like it was soup.